Hey guys, welcome back to the Diet Doc Life Mastery Podcast. We're going to stay in this series for quite a few more days, highlighting the Diet Doc 2019 annual conference. Today we're going to talk about the Metabolic Map and how we as a company have decided to use a tool like this to just really make a more cohesive experience for our clients. So this is something, Kori, that we've been talking to our program owners about for almost a year, at least 3/4 of a year. And we've created all kinds of material on why we're doing this, how it works, how we're going to roll this out. It's going to be the centerpiece of our company and why. And of course, you gave a great lecture about this at the annual conference. So I'm looking forward to you sharing the most important pieces of why we made this decision.
Yeah. So Joe, I would say that we started talking about this probably 4 or 5 years ago when all of us really jumped on this. Let's create these community-based programs. And I remember doing presentations at our annual conferences that were very practical, like here's how to set up a group and here's all the things that you need to be thinking about. And so in many ways, like we got started a while back, but we really formalized it earlier this year when we created the Metabolic Map to Your Epic Life program. And what it is it's a team-based nutrition coaching platform. I say that though, Joe, and it is so much more than nutrition. If we call it your map to your epic life, we are literally drilling down into and capitalizing on things like challenge and choice and autonomy and competence. And, you've heard me say a million times over the 3 basic psychological needs. So we've got connection in there too. Add to the C words, your word of cohesiveness. So
Glad you clarified that C word there.
It's a great one. We don't want there to be chaos for everyone involved, right?
Absolutely. That's one C word.
One of the strongest agents of change available to us as human beings is social influence. We are so highly moved by what other people are doing and what other people are saying and the goals that other people are pursuing. And the Metabolic Map helps us to distill this into something very strength-based and motivating for people. What I see among my clients who are engaged in a Metabolic Map program is that they are revealing things about themselves and uncovering so many blind spots, and generating new perceptions because of the communication that is occurring among their peers. Now, for all the coaches who are listening, the challenge for us is to cultivate the sort of culture.
Well, before you get too deep into how you articulate it to your clients on a daily basis and what they go through, let me back up. You mentioned for the coaches that are listening, so let me define exactly what this is before people get lost in the weeds. Good
idea. Okay.
So the Metabolic Map for us is just, first of all, a way to explain what we do, because it's very difficult sometimes in a consulting world to tell people what they're going to receive. We're very transactional minded. So when somebody says, okay, here's what you're going to do for me, here's what I pay, but if you can't explain what I'm going to do for you easily, you get lost in chaos. So what I wanted to do is make sure that our programming, our services, our consulting model was more easily viewed as an actual product or commodity. So when we say, here's what the Diet Doc Metabolic Map is, I explain it as 3 easy steps. Number 1, you're going to get a custom macronutrient profile. We can talk about all the whys. We can
Mm-hmm.
talk about genetics and uniqueness and body type and all of that. But number one, you get a custom macronutrient profile. Number two, you get the flex meal system, because once you have these unique macronutrient profiles, you need to know what to do with those numbers. And so people need that next step of, let's turn this into food. And some people need some very detailed structural meal planning to begin with. Some people don't, but we don't skip that step. It's very critical.
Mm-hmm.
And the third process is support. And so in our system, we send out daily videos. We have an online private forum, and then we have private coaching groups within that. And I know that's what you're going to dive into next, how we make this much more community-based in an experience. You know, we talked about this in the first podcast in this series, how to get away from the thought that you're just purveying information and content and science and methodology, and instead you're creating a client experience. So through the Metabolic Map, we're creating that experience through those 3 steps. And the biggest, most profound among them is what you were just diving into, Kori, which is now, how do we get people involved and engaged and challenged? And so back to you.
Yeah, no, thank you for clarifying. That was important. It's that support piece and the collaborative piece is what allows us to create that experience for our clients. I think as coaches, many times we can get lost in, just like you said, throwing content at our clients. Here's your meal plan. Here's your macros. Now, and then they just feel lost. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to integrate it into their lives. But in a group sort of setting too, when you know that each person involved has their individual customized, personalized numbers, and they're beginning to understand how to work it into their lives in an appropriate, healthy way, and they're all communicating and sharing ideas, it's powerful. There's an art that goes into creating that environment though. And as coaches, we need to approach that with care. We need to be thinking ahead about what are the values that we want to have this group working around and through as they're communicating. What's acceptable and what isn't. And that starts with just the description of the group itself. You know, the first sentence that I have as part of my group description is, life is practice. Because I want everyone in my support group to be moving into it with a sense of expansiveness and openness, not fear, you know, not a lot of anxiety about, you know, what they can share or what they should share or what they should keep, you know, locked inside of them or hide. That we're all just practicing together. This is not about perfection. This is about pursuing what's important to us. So it also includes me modeling a way of being with these people and helping to create a sense of safety and trust and modeling vulnerability. So, you know, that moves people into being a bit more courageous. And I think all of this have probably, as clients and as coaches, because as coaches, we've been in groups before where we're like, I'm not so sure I want to share yet. Like, I'm just going to hold back and just kind of wait and see what happens. In the very beginning, there's this period of flux where we're kind of hopping back and forth between, okay, I'm going to step back. All right, I'll give some here. And once that safety and that trust starts to really build and stabilize, then you just see it blossom and flourish. And everyone is commenting on everyone else's posts. And so we have that, Joe. I think that practically speaking, what it allows us to do, what the Metabolic Map really allows us to do well, is to engage more people and affect change with more people at one time.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I wanted to test this. And this was last summer. I mean, formally as a
Mm-hmm.
social psychology student
Mm-hmm.
for the last several years, I just had this idea. We always talk about how one-on-one work is so valuable, and that's the
Yeah.
premium, that's the great thing, and that's what you really want to emphasize and pay for. But I started thinking that's just not true.
Mm-hmm.
When we isolate our clients and they only email us once in a while, and here's your check-in day, and here are all these limitations. My goal was to see what would happen if we actually did put people in groups and teams,
Mm-hmm.
and they not only had the support of each other, they were relied upon. They
Mm-hmm.
felt the accountability of teammates saying, hey man, where are you at? What are you doing? How can
Yeah.
I help you? And that's the greatest thing. I recently heard one of our program owners wrongly, very, very wrongly,
Mm-hmm.
say that, oh, the metabolic map, that's group coaching, so that's less
And
hands-on. You don't get as much as one-on-one.
right.
That is bullshit. You get far more,
Oh yeah.
because instead of waiting for one coach to give
Mm-hmm.
one client some feedback once a week or so,
Mm-hmm.
you're feeding into this group every single day, and there are
Mm-hmm.
multiple layers of people doing that together.
Yeah.
That's an amazing change.
Well, I'm not the only coach in that group. Every client / friend in that group becomes a coach to everyone else. And yeah, we're doing clients a disservice if we're only doing the one-on-one, because they're getting one perspective then. Mine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know it all. Sometimes I like to think I do, Joe, but I know I am much better in a community too. That's why we're business partners. We're better together than we are separately. So that's a powerful piece of it.
There's just so much great peer interaction and
Yeah.
support, and people feel needed. It's not just that they need something from us. They feel that they're really contributing, and that's such an
Yes.
important part of our social being.
I work better. I feel more energized. I have more motivation when I know that you are relying on me in some way to do something. I have a greater sense of ownership over my work as well. Our clients feel the same way.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So the last thing I know that is part of what we have created as the Metabolic Map is simply having a kind of a beginning and an end point where they jump into this group and they have their programming, and we have
Mm-hmm.
6 months of daily videos that go out to them just every single
Yes.
morning. They get these things. And then we used to say, okay, you guys, once your programming is finished, goodbye, good luck, have a nice life. We've now created this premium membership where the content that we're putting into these groups and these coaching groups, they can stay in. They can, for a Netflix-like membership, they can just stay part of this community forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an important thing we were missing as well, is that we want you to be a part of this group, not just us, but everybody else. And we get to keep doing this together.
Well, the coolest thing about this group that they can be members for over the long haul is that everyone in our company is contributing in this group. It's not just my private coaching group. It's all of the other owners. It's you, Joe. I'm in there. Our medical directors are in there. Physical therapists are in there. Nurse practitioners are in there. And so you are constantly getting new information. You're getting feedback. You're receiving ideas, and you're just able to continue exploring. So there's no real end point. It's not like you lose the weight and then you're done and then you're floundering and you're not necessarily sure what direction to go in. You have this constant interaction that you can be engaging in and continuing to learn about yourself through.
And I know we both love words like exploring, because that's exactly, as fitness entrepreneurs, coaches who are watching and listening, that's an important part of why we're even doing this series. That's how we themed our annual conference this year. is that we have to be constantly evolving because life and culture is evolving faster than ever. So guys, I hope you stay tuned for the rest of the series. We're going to be interviewing some of our program owners who were panel leaders and workshop presenters. So much more great information. Kori, thank you for not only presenting this at our annual conference, but today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys for watching and listening. We will catch you next time.
Thanks, guys.